It's a Royals Wednesday afternoon winner, and we're live with 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski with you live today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It is a shortened edition of the show today because we've got Kansas State Wildcats baseball coming up in just a little bit. It'll be K-State versus Nebraska, old Big 8 rivalry going on in Lincoln. Now, we will be on call for the start of that game, potentially going to be some iffy weather in Lincoln today. So if we go to a rain delay in the K-State game, we'll be right back here on 580 WIBW for a little sports talk fill-in until 6. But as for now, assuming the game gets on as scheduled a little bit later on today, we will have K-State baseball starting at 5:30 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Until then, though, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll get to a recap of the Royals game coming up here in just a little bit. We will also get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines, and we will have our playoff roundup as well, plus a quick final word as we get ready for K-State baseball coming up at 5:30 today. We'd love for you to be a part of the show, either on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. That is our text line number. You can also find us on YouTube. Yes, indeed. We are streaming the show on YouTube today for however long we are on the air, up until about 5:30. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. Appreciate all of you who have come out and subscribed to the channel recently. I know most of the new ones were while I was gone, but that's okay. We appreciate it nonetheless. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, subscribe to the channel while you're there, and you can find the video stream of the show there as well. Video also live today on Twitter at 580 Sports Talk. On Twitter is where you can find us, and WIBW News on Facebook. You can also find the video stream there. As I mentioned, we will get to a full Royals recap when we get to the top of the hour after our national and local news and the commercial break. But I did want to start with this from our guy, Christopher, who says, rubber games have been a vex. Christopher, of course, the Bard on YouTube and the Top City Metal Supply text line. Rubber games have been a vex, but today they took off the hex. It's such a great feeling when Lugo was dealing and Massey just stepped on their necks. 0-4, 0-4-4, I should say, in rubber games entering today for the Royals, but a really strong day by Seth Lugo on the mound. We'll get to that in a little bit. Really clutch situational hitting for the Royals. That 3-run home run by Michael Massey. Dan actually put on Twitter near the end of the game, just shortly before that home run, said, this is a game the Royals have got to find a way to win. So many times they have split the first two games of a series or started off a series hot and then tapered off a little bit by the end of the 3 or 4 games. This felt like one that the Royals really had to come away with a win. And they were able to do that. Big hit by Michael Massey. And again, the pitching just absolutely stellar. The bullpen specifically in this game, I thought they deserve a lot of credit. It was good Chris Stratton today. You throw on Nick Anderson at the end. Really positive stuff there. I heard this from Jake Eisenberg on the radio broadcast. So if you were listening here on 580 WIBW, you heard this as well. The Royals came into today number 1 in Major League Baseball in defensive runs saved. So if that's a metric that you like, you could argue the Kansas City Royals are the best team defensively in Major League Baseball right now. Came into today 5th in club ERA in all of Major League Baseball, and they're right around the middle of the pack when it comes to offense. I understand if you're not all the way bought in. I still have some reservations about what this team is going to be able to accomplish when we get to games, 140 through 162 coming in September. But this is the kind of game against the kind of team that I think the Royals should strive to be equal with or surpass this year. Like I said yesterday on the show, I am not expecting the Royals to be as good as, say, the Dodgers when they are at their best. I know they've had their struggles this year, but when they are at their best, or some of the other teams that are among the very best in baseball and that we expect are going to be World Series contenders this year. But can you be in that next group, the group of teams that are contending for a playoff spot, that are going to be around 500 or better this year? If you can be flirting with that group this season, if you're the Kansas City Royals, that's probably going to be a pretty good year for you. So a big shout out to the clutch hitting today. The pitching was off the charts good. We'll break it all down when we get to the top of the hour after the national and local news. We'll also get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines and get you set for K-State baseball versus Nebraska, which we, again, are planning to have right at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour, assuming they do not go into a rain delay on the K-State Sports Network. Before we get out of here for our national news, and again, we'll come back at the top of 5 o'clock, right around 5:06. I did want to say something, and Mark on YouTube has a comment here. Hope everybody was safe last night with the storms. I do want to send my thoughts, prayers, and condolences to the people of Westmoreland, Kansas, which is not too far west of us here in the capital city out in Pottawatomie County. Folks up north as well in the general Centralia area. And I know east of us, right down 24 Highway toward Lawrence and east as well. Williamstown, I know, got hit last night. Just best thoughts, best wishes, and prayers go out after those tornadoes yesterday. Really scary stuff. Some of the damage from Westmoreland just absolutely breaks your heart. So sending our best thoughts out there to anyone affected by the tornadoes yesterday. Really scary stuff. We heard the sirens here in the capital city yesterday, and just hoping that everybody is able to come out of that in as good a shape as possible. I know there was the loss of life associated with the storms as well. So again, just well wishes to everybody affected. And here's to what I know will be a great comeback story for everybody who had to deal with that yesterday. We've got to get to a break for the news. We'll come on back with a Royals recap and of today's 580 Sports Talk headlines after the news on 580 Sports Talk. is a shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk coming your way late on a Wednesday afternoon. I am Brendan Dworzinski. You just heard earlier on last hour, the Kansas City Royals take a rubber game from the Toronto Blue Jays, a 6-1 winner. The Kansas City Royals are 19-13. We'll get to that game coming up here in just a few moments. We'll also get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines for the day. That is all coming up here on a shortened, abbreviated interlude edition of 580 Sports Talk. You are welcome to join the program on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. You can also find us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. You can also find the video stream on the 580 Sports Talk Twitter page and on Facebook. Our Facebook page is called WIBW News. We're out of here at 5:30 today for K-State baseball. The Cats are taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers today. They are scheduled to get rain in Lincoln because of course they are. Because why wouldn't we get even more weather that could impact us today? This is a little less serious, obviously, than the tornadoes yesterday. Game is still scheduled to start on time in Lincoln. We will go to the K-State Sports Network at the bottom of this hour. If they have to delay that game, they will send it back here to 580 WIBW, and we'll be with you until 6 o'clock on another interlude edition of Sports Talk. So that is what the day looks like today. Coming up tomorrow, we've got a full edition of 580 Sports Talk from 2 until 6. No Royals baseball to get to tomorrow, but Tim Fitzgerald's going to join us on Friday this week. We usually have him on Wednesdays. He'll join us on Friday at 4:35. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. We've got some Chiefs notes to get to. Former NFL Network insider James Palmer, who is very tied in to what the Kansas City Chiefs are up to and the inner workings of the franchise. He had an interesting thought on a podcast this week about how long Rashee Rice might be out. And when I heard this, my first thought was, there is a starting caliber wide receiver on the free agent market right now that I would be signing today if I am the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to that, some other draft thoughts coming up tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk, plus your texts and your YouTube comments, just like we will get to today. I did want to touch on the Royals win today over the Toronto Blue Jays before we get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines and today's playoff roundup. Royals win 6-1. Seth Lugo, man, he has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, struck out 8. That's 1 shy of his season high, as you heard Steve Stewart say on the Royals radio network. Gave up 1 run. Gave up a solo home run to Danny Jansen in the 7th inning. That's it. That is it. 100 pitches. Nice, tidy 7 innings and a quality start in this one for Seth Lugo. He was tremendous. This is the guy who the Royals were hoping they were adding in free agency. This is why you go out and you spend real money to go get real major league players, guys who we consider on this show to be floor-raising players, guys who maybe are not going to have the top-end capability that even a Cole Reagans has. I think we would all agree, and we've talked about this on the program many times before, Cole Reagans is a guy with a high ceiling, a really high ceiling, maybe an American League Cy Young kind of ceiling. I don't think that Seth Lugo has that kind of ability, but what I do think Seth Lugo has is a baseline of quality that is almost always going to keep you in a game. At the very least, more often than not, when he makes upwards of 30, 32 starts this year, for 25 or more of them, you're going to come out of that game thinking, you know what? Seth Lugo gave us a chance to win this game. That's what you wanted out of him and out of Michael Wacha and out of some of the veterans you got in the bullpen. And while Will Smith has been bad, while Chris Stratton has had more good than bad, but the bad has been awful, that is what you were hoping to get with the veterans that you shelled out real money for this year if you were John Sherman and JJ Picollo. And it's worked out so far. Seth Lugo, after today, after this outing, now has a season ERA of 1.60. Phenomenal. Absolutely great. The bullpen was good today. 2 total hits given up in 2 innings by Chris Stratton and Nick Anderson. The 2 strikeouts, 1 for each of them. They were great. The Royals were great today. Offensively, they came through when it mattered the most. Situational hitting. How many times over the years have you heard me moan and complain and kvetch about this team's situational hitting? Today, they go 3 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Witt has a hit there. Perez has a hit there. Michael Massey with the big one that really put the nail in the coffin. It was 3-1 Royals. He hits the 3-run home run in the top of the 8th inning, scoring Witt and Pasquantino. That ends up finishing off the game. Your stars came out in this one. Royals finished the day with 7 hits. 4 of them belong to Bobby Witt Jr. and to Vinny Pasquantino. Witt's average is up to 320 this year. He's still slugging almost at 550 for the season, 547 after today. It was a game for the stars. The studs came out, made a major impact. That is what you want to see from this Royals team, and that's what they were able to do. And like I was talking about at the end of last hour, can you really call it an hour? We were on the air for about 7 minutes. But at the end of last hour, I talked about it earlier this week. The Blue Jays are the type of team with their kind of talent. I know they're now 15-17 overall on the year. That's the kind of team I think the Royals should be able to win games against this year, if not a majority of their games, and at least half of their games against teams like that this year. Teams that have the talent to compete for a playoff spot. Teams that have postseason aspirations. Maybe not the best teams in the AL, the best teams in all of MLB, but teams that have those kind of aspirations. Because it's one thing to beat up on lowly teams like the White Sox and Astros, and it's crazy to say that about the Astros given who they've been for the better part of the last decade. It's one thing to beat up on those teams, but you want to get quality wins against decent quality teams. That's what the Royals were able to do with a series win in Toronto. You want to win, and they talked about this a little bit on the Royals radio network post-game with Steve Stewart and Jake Eisenberg. By the way, Jake Eisenberg, man, he is good at his job. Really, really, really nice asset for the Royals to have that guy calling your games on radio. And how lucky are we to be a Royals affiliate ever since the beginning? But I digress. Can you go 500 against your teams you face on the road? In road games, can you go 500? At home, can you win more than half your games? 2/3 of your games, even. If you're able to do that, you're going to have a really damn good year. That's what the Royals have been doing for the most part. You finish this road trip at 500, you're in a really good spot if you're the Kansas City Royals, and you should be very happy about where you are. I know I'm happy about where this Royals team is right now. Let's get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today, shall we? Again, Royals win the series with the Blue Jays. No game coming up tomorrow. They will be back in action, however, coming up on Friday when they start a series with the Texas Rangers. And the Rangers, the reigning World Series champions, they're now 16-14 overall on the season. They've been playing a little bit better of late. They've won 3 of their last 4 and 4 of their last 6, including back-to-back wins over the Reds and the Nationals. They play the Nats coming up a little bit later on tonight, and then they'll be in action again coming up tomorrow as well. They are just a single game back in the AL West standings. The Rangers are behind Seattle, and the Mariners in the bottom of the 9th with 1 out have the tying run at the plate, but they trail Atlanta 5-2, and now there's 2 outs in that game, in fact. So a good spot for the Royals to be in. Here's an interesting note from Christopher in the YouTube comments. We'd love to hear from you. YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on Twitter, and also, of course, you can hit us up on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. How about this from Christopher on YouTube? The Royals still only have 2 qualifiers with an OPS over 700. They're both over 900. Yeah, pretty impressive stuff. Day for the stars, like I said, for the Royals. Good to see them shine out. I don't know if you count Seth Lugo as one of the Royal stars, but he sure as hell's pitching like it so far this season. All right, I've kept you with the Royals long enough. Let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we start with the Chiefs tight end, Travis Kelce, who we know signed that new contract earlier on this week. Well, today, the newest edition of the New Heights podcast came out. Jason and Travis Kelce. Here is what the Chiefs' future Hall of Fame tight end had to say about his new contract. Quote, "I'm not a guy that sits out. I'm not a guy that holds out. I'm a guy that loves coming into the building, and the Chiefs know that. So for them to want to get this done, for me knowing how much blood, sweat, and tears that I put into this thing, I'm extremely grateful." Goes on to say, I'm so excited and so thankful to this organization for getting it done, making me feel appreciated and compensated the right way. And on top of that, I got to move the needle for the tight end room. It's everyone else's job to keep making that tight end average annual value, he said AAV, go up and up with every single contract that's better than mine in the future. I'm so freaking thankful to Brett Veach, Mark Donovan, Reed, Big Red, I love you, big guy, and obviously Clark Hunt. The Hunt family has been unbelievable to not only myself and this Kansas City community, but they've been so generous since I've been here in making it feel like home. For the past 11 years, I've been able to make this place exactly that, and I've loved every single second of it, and I'm going to love the next 2 years playing here in Kansas City, and we'll see what happens after that. Kelsey goes on to say, knowing that Patrick Mahomes got a raise last fall, Chris Jones isn't going anywhere. Quote, we got the nucleus together and paid, baby. Everybody got paid this offseason. I love it. Every team has a couple of guys who you feel like should never play a football game in another uniform. If you're the Chiefs, there are 3 of those guys. And I think you were probably resigned to the fact that it could have been just 2, that Chris Jones may have left in free agency, but Chris Jones didn't want to leave in free agency. Getting freaking out here. I'm throwing my headphone cords all over the place. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to be a part of this core. He wanted to play his entire career with Kansas City, and it's shaping up right now like he is going to be able to do just that. Patrick Mahomes, you pay the quarterback. You keep the quarterback. When he might be the most physically gifted quarterback in the history of the sport, when you take every single aspect into account, you don't lose that guy. Travis Kelce wanted to be in Kansas City. He has said that before. The Vanity Fair article, other interviews that he has done over time, being talked about in whichever magazine it most recently was when he was talking about his relationship with Taylor Swift. He's happy with where he is. You do not get that everywhere that you go. I feel very fortunate that I get to come to work at a place that values me, that I enjoy working at every single day, with guys and Spencer and Dan and Jake before that who I enjoy working with every single day. Not everybody feels that way. I'm sure you have had moments like that where you have felt like, damn, I hate coming to work. I don't like where I am. Maybe you got paid a ton of money. You were making the best money of your life, but I don't really love what I do. Travis Kelce is in a spot, and he has said this where, look, man, I probably have deserved more money because I've been the best tight end in the league, but I'm happy where I am. I love the guys I work with. I love the community I'm in, the people who run this organization. Now we are at a point where he is getting the money that he deserves. And just a caveat, because I know there's always, well, there are much harder jobs than being a professional football player. They don't make quite as much money. Yes, I understand. We are talking about athlete money. Athlete money is just in a different world than you and me money. And I think most of us understand that at this point. It is a different world that these guys live in. He is being compensated the most money per year average value of anybody in the NFL at the tight end position. And that's what he deserves because he is the best at what he does at the tight end position. The other point he made in there in that clip, or the quotes from the New Heights podcast, it is now everyone else's job to keep moving that needle up. That is a big deal for the Players Association, is you don't want guys taking hometown discounts if you're the PA. You don't like when guys take less money because it worsens your negotiating stance going forward. I'm not saying right or wrong, good or bad. That's just the way they view it. That's the thing they want. Travis Kelce helps them out in that regard too. So everybody's happy. Kelce gets a raise. He's not going anywhere. He'll finish his career in Kansas City, whether it's after this 2-year deal or beyond that. Everybody wins in this situation. All right, let's get to the latter part of today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let us get to today's edition of the Playoff Roundup.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
Even though he's not here in person, you get to hear a little Spencer Dupuis on this Wednesday afternoon. All right, playoff roundup time. Let's start with the NBA. A thriller in New York yesterday. The Philadelphia 76ers take down the Knicks 112-106. So former Kansas Jayhawks, multiple Jayhawks, in fact, for the Sixers, Joel Embiid and Kelly Oubre, they are still alive for another game that will go to a game 6. New York still leads 3-2 in that one. I thought New York was the better team for the majority of that game, frankly, but it's Philly that comes out with the 112-106 win in overtime. Other games from yesterday, Cleveland has taken a 3-2 lead over the Orlando Magic. They won in Cleveland yesterday, 104-103. A series that no one is talking about, no one knows anything about, but Cleveland wins a fun one there. They will go to a game 6 with Cleveland a chance to put that series away. And we have another series that went to 2-3-2 last night with the Milwaukee Bucks cruising past the Indiana Pacers 115-92 at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. The Bucks did not have their two best players, Damian Lillard or Giannis Antetokounmpo. Not sure what their status will be going forward in that series. Coming up tonight, two series that have a very different storyline so far. At 6:30 tonight, Miami will try to stay alive in their Game 5 against the Boston Celtics. The Celtics lead 3-1. That one will be at the TD Garden in Boston. Meanwhile, 2 games apiece to the Dallas Mavericks and Los Angeles Clippers. 9 o'clock tip-off on TNT for that one. The winner will take a all-important 3-2 lead heading into Game 6 of that series. As for the NHL playoffs, in last night's action, a lot of action last night, 2 series went final. The Carolina Hurricanes knock off the New York Islanders in a high-scoring affair, 6-3. So Carolina wins that series in 5 games. And Dan's Colorado Avalanche, 6-3. They beat the Winnipeg Jets. High scores in every game in that series, I believe. So Colorado in 5 games wins that series. Also from last night, Toronto in overtime knocks off Boston 2-1. Boston still has a 3-2 lead in that series. And the Nashville Predators stayed alive in their Game 5 against Vancouver, 2-1 in that game. However, Vancouver still has a 3-2 lead in that Western Conference series. Tonight, the action in the NHL, just 2 games. They'll both be on ESPN. Vegas and Dallas, that one will drop the puck at 6:30. That series is tied 2 games apiece. And at 9 o'clock, start time again on ESPN TV tonight, Edmonton will try to finish off the LA Kings in Game 5 of that series. Edmonton with a 3-1 lead in that one. The playoff roundup will return tomorrow. And we'll return with more 580 Sports Talk coming up tomorrow as well from 2 until 6. Plenty to get to. Rick Peterson will join us. A lot to get to with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Rashee Rice situation. Should they add a veteran wide receiver? What position battles will include rookies coming up this year and in training camp? We'll get to all that and much more tomorrow right here on 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we have to get to one final timeout. We'll come on back, get you a final word, and then send you off to Lincoln and the K-State Sports Network for K-State Baseball today. That's coming up right after this as we wrap up a shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk. wrap up 580 Sports Talk with a quick final word, shortened edition of the show today. And I want to make sure we give a big time shout out to the Kansas City Royals, 19-13. They open up the month of May with a victory after winning 17 games in April. Did you know? I did not know this. I was, in fact, fascinated by this. That was a new club record for April wins, 17 for the Royals last month. That is frankly unbelievable, frankly incredible, and should have you really excited about this team. We're just a couple weeks away from that 40-game mark, the quarter pole. The one thing I will give Dayton more credit for, because I do think it is an accurate time to adjust your expectations for a team one quarter of the way into the season. And I've told you consistently, I'm not going to make any changes to my belief of 75 wins until then. Man, they're playing really good baseball. The offense came alive today. You got a superstar day from Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino with a big hit. Michael Massey comes up huge in the middle of the order. And if you're going to get games like today from Seth Lugo the rest of the season, this is a team that's going to contend near the top of the AL Central all year long and is going to be in playoff contention. I don't know that that's what they will do all year, but this game was proof that that is what they can do all year, and that should be really exciting if you're a Royals fan. That does it for 580 Sports Talk today, shortened edition of the show, but we're back tomorrow from 2 until 6. Myself, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuis will all be with you. We've got K-State baseball coming up next in Lincoln against Nebraska. Hopefully they get it in around the rain. I'll join you tomorrow for another edition of 580 Sports Talk.